I hope you enjoyed the last one I had with Mansan Nathan, and obviously another member of the awesome Sunflower Samurais, Daniel Correas. But now, this time around, I brought two of the greatest European Guardian players that I know. Don't worry, there are many more that I know, that I love hanging out with. I've got Yorgos, the Zeus Greek god himself, and
in your Olympia main.
Yes. Oh, that's the thing. We are going to talk about Guardian, and we've got Pablo Pintor. Everyone knows Pablo Pintor. It's Pablo Pintor, everyone.
Victor main.
Victor,
if he's not as bad, as the last heroes I have liked in Flesh and Blood.
Oh.
Like, I have a really bad aim to choose new heroes. I really like Riptide. I really like the Arachne. I really like the Teklobosen. Let's hope Victor does not go that way. We trust in you, Victor. We trust in you.
When you say you got bad aim, I mean, bro, when it comes to tournament time.
Oh, no, of course. I don't play the things I like the most. I play the things I win the most with.
Pablo, also, please tell us which hero you're going to main so we know the next LL hero.
Yeah. Which one are you going to
Please
murder
tell us
next?
what not to play so we don't get screwed over again like you did with any hero we love.
I am enjoying playing Usuri in this downtime of tournaments in Fab. I really like playing Usuri. It's an extremely fun deck.
Yeah.
So be wary of her.
Oh, okay. Well, but today, everyone, we're going to be breaking down a bit about some new Guardians that have been revealed for the Heavy Hitter set. So we're also going to touch on Bravo as well. We're going to just talk about all of them like we did with the Rhinar stuff. So just like the other video, if you haven't checked it out, it's on our channel. We're going to just go through the heroes, and I think this one's going to be a bit more of a harder sort of talk through because Betsy Skin in the Game and Victor Goldmighty, High and Mighty, has a few more cards that needs to be seen at this point. So as this comes out, we're going to be getting into spoiler season and a lot more things will flesh out. But I still think it'll be really good to just sort of get these guys' thoughts on, you know, where they may sit and how they might sort of play and how they might work in the CC format. Who to start off with? I think I think we should start with the cool dude, the coolest dude, the one that Yorgos claims is Jaime Lannister, Victor Goldmighty, High and Mighty. I love this dude's like concept, the whole thing about it that, you know, we have actually got a War of Monarch going on, and this dude's like, yeah, well, I'm out to make big bucks, right? Why is he here? It's really cool that we've got a dude from Seoul in the game. His hero text is, well, we'll go through that. It's quite interesting. The first time you make a gold token from an effect that you control, draw a card. And the first time each turn you would fail to win a clash. Instead, you may destroy a gold you control. If you do, put one of the revealed cards on the bottom of the owner's deck, then clash again. It's quite a complex hero ability. Pablo, I'll start with you. What's your thoughts on Victor Goldmighty?
So, the first thing that you have to analyze when talking about any Guardian hero is that a blank Guardian hero would probably be pretty okay, you know? So, anything that goes higher than that is really good. And I'm seeing a lot of text. And it also is, normally it's pretty good to have a lot of text on your hero card. So I do think the most important one is the draw a card when creating a gold.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we don't know many sources of creating gold as of right now. We have seen a clash card, I believe. We have seen an attack card, the one that gets like the class that you're. It's an
the universal.
But it also gets your class. So there's not a lot of ways to actually, you know, fire that first line of text that much, but I do think he will some support, and you know, even if you just do it 2 to 3 times in a game, it will be pretty good, even if it's just a couple of times, and then you got some protection insurance against, you know, bad classes.
Mm-hmm.
and that's also pretty good as well. I believe this is the first hero, barring good old Arachne, that it's not there in the very competitive tier. This is the first hero that can actually use these money tokens to do something impactful on the table,
Mm-hmm.
other than cycling a card with their own text. And I do think we will see some Guardian shenanigans. Like, for example, it is extremely good to draw a blue with a gold token, pitching a blue and then attacking with an author.
Mm-hmm.
It's a ton of value. You're turning one card into six strength attack.
Yeah.
That's why I thought that class card was good in Bravo, and I do still believe it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm extremely excited for this hero because we will talk about bets later. Yeah,
Yeah.
but Victor is like really different to other Guardians hero we have seen this far because honestly, we didn't care much for Oldim's text box. His good the good part of his text box was right at the top, and it said essence of ice and earth,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and then he had an ability that was also pretty good, but it was not central to how did you build or play the hero, and Bravo is also kind of in a weird spot where you only activate his ability twice in a game, something like that. It's not. It depends on you if you're in the offensive side or the defensive side of the matchup, but it's not usually used that much. It's a really good ability in combination with certain cards like Crippling Crash or. But I do think that having a more proactive hero, and I do believe at this point that Victor should have attacks with Clash. I would enjoy that at least, other than just having block cards or different reactions. And if he has attacks with Clash and he's constantly interacting with your opponent and such, it should be a pretty cool deck with a pretty rough matchup into another Guardian. But we will talk about that later. But
Yeah.
it is really strange. He should be playing like strange cards in those matchups to make sure he wins classes. Things like Pulverize or something like that. I don't think, but
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah. What about you, Yorgos?
I mean, it's exactly what Pablo said about, Bravo being in a weird spot and any other text. I mean, it's such a huge upgrade. I mean, in some cases compared to Bravo. My biggest problem with Goldmane is that most Guardian decks want to run like 36 plus blues. So how are you going to evaluate the draw? I mean, okay, you pitch a blue, you draw a card of gold, and you get a red. And you already had an arsenal. I mean, there are some weird interactions about drawing random cards with Guardian. And I think it's supposed to be built in his hero that you class a lot. You should be classing a lot in your turns, so you know the top card of your deck. But I mean, that's exactly how we started this conversation. That we don't know yet. How are you going to class? I mean, okay, the block card we have. If you get to draw a card, the value is nuts. I mean, 0 for 4, draw a card, make a gold. I mean, it,
Yeah.
it literally does everything. How often could you do that? And I mean, and it's obviously what Pablo said, the natural problem that Goldman will have is versus other Guardians. I mean, okay, versus a five, you can always class and you will win 90% of your classes if your deck is built that way. But what if you play, into a Bravo? What if you play versus another deck that's stacked into? I mean, even illusionists might be a problem if you have a lot of, even Prism might be a problem if you have a lot of non-attack cards in your deck because 80% of the illusionist deck are heralds that are, above curved compared to other classes. So you still might be losing some classes there. It's interesting, but
Illusionist's been a problem to Guardian. Never happened before.
yeah, I mean, but we'll probably get into the same conversation with Betsy that are we going to get a full suit of class cards for Goldmane? I mean, and I'm going to say the same for Betsy. Are we going to get a full suit of attack wager cards for Betsy? Are we going to get a full suit of class attacks for Goldmane? If that's the case, yeah, maybe Goldmane will be insane. 4 for 8 class. If you win, the next attack gets -2. I mean, if such a card gets printed into, every single class card we have, but with class on top of it, the hero will be nuts. I mean,
And there's only going to be so many cards, right? But we've already got his specialization, the Golden Sun, where it has some pretty nutso, interactions with it. Where if this gets revealed, you automatically make a gold token. You then automatically draw this card, and then you can spend additional costs of that gold that you've just got from that card to just then go and 10. But I think there's this will be somewhat the same sort of thing, like when we talk a bit about Betsy. But just to touch on it a little bit now, is that these Guardians have on-hit effects that are positive effects for you. Feels like when you play, it just reminds me a little bit when you're playing Bolton, that I'm going to do a thing, and if this works, I get a buff. Cool. But you don't get a negative, and that's what Azuri and Azalea specializing really well, where they'll go, and Bravo, right? If this hits and does its thing, I'm not going to get a buff, but you're going to get hammered, and your turn is going to just not feel that good. And that's actually the thing where these two Guardians are going like, I'm getting buffed if this works. And a lot of heroes just go, cool, I don't care. And that's the weird sort of thing where I think this is where both, Victor Goldmane and probably Betsy as well, we just need to see a bit more, is that, they're getting buffs, and it's a matter of, do I care if you've got a buff or not, like sort of deal, because it makes no impact to me whatsoever. Is that a fair comment?
It makes sense, at least thematically, on Victor's Goldmane's case, because he just doesn't care about his opponents. He just wins because he has more money. You fucking peasant, go away.
Yeah, but then that's probably where you need to start weaving in potentially, like, or we need to probably just see a few more cards that have, like, just some on-hit effects that do something other than, well, if this hits, I clash. Yeah. Okay.
I do think we might see some effects like his hammer.
Yeah.
Miller's Grindstone.
That's a good.
Called,
yeah, you've segued very well into that. Very, very well. The Miller's Grindstone. What a card! I think this has got to be like weirdly It's got to be the most interesting card that we've seen from a Guardian, like, so far, in my opinion. Is that we've now got a card that goes, if this hits, that's the thing. So you could swing Miller's Grindstone, swing in for 4. I sink below it. Cool. Right. Doesn't matter. Nothing happens. But if this hits, clash with them. And if you win, they just destroy the top card of their deck. And if you lose, though, you get a -1 token on it. So there is so much going on here that is like, is this good? Yes. Is this risky? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, very risky. Start with you, Yorgos. Your thoughts on Miller's Grindstone?
I mean, are we going to get more cards like the specialization of Goldmane? If that's the case, this card again could be nuts. I mean, imagine having one card in hand, 0 for 4. They block with one card, they take one, you mill one, whatever, and then you clash. And then you reveal the card that generates a gold or generates anything really. And you suddenly did a 0 for 4 that drew a card and made the gold and gave you an arsenal. And it's insane. But the natural problem with Goldmane, I think, is how is he going to end games? Because Bravo had evasion and still had a rough time ending games versus a lot of matchups. if Goldman does not have evasion, how is he going to end the games? And this weapon is not really helping in that point. I mean, if you are afraid, you might be forced to running something like Anethos because you will be lacking the damage. I don't know. Maybe versus the more defensive matchups where you want a shield and you are not really afraid of running out of juice versus a 5, for instance. The hammer could be insane, but I could totally see him having a second weapon in the sideboard. I mean, or hammer being the second option in your deck, not the first choice.
Yeah, I'm looking at this. Like, I think when you look at something like Miller's Grindstone, there's a bit of me that makes me think, actually, this guy is probably not doing. He's definitely not doing what Bravo's doing. Bravo just seems to be more now like slot, a bit more aggressive, and I think that the clash mechanic is going to pretty much be. I'm actually just using this to sort of filter out these, like what Guardian's going to do. Big heavy moves that you're doing. I'm just going to limit them down real low. Build up like this clash stuff, and then in the end, when I'm blocking you to do a clash, and I just reveal the top card, that's telling me, well, am I actually going to win the clash with Miller's Grindstone next? Or when I just go, well, I'm just now just going to slowly run you out of more threats with this card because I just clashed last turn. I just flipped up. I won, and now it's my turn. So let's go again. Let's just maybe not because if it was their turn, they draw back up again. I don't know, but I think this is going to be one of those heroes that you're going to have to read their like if and this is a particular deck style, not the hero in general, but a hero that just goes. This particular deck style of this hero is I'm going to grind you out, and in the end, I'm going to know the person that knows your second cycle of deck better is going to then make the most out of Miller's Grindstone because they will go, well, like, bro, I know what you've been pitching up, and I know that what I've been pitching up against what you've been pitching up is better because I've seen what you pitched, so I've now pitched the stronger cards on your pitch. So when it comes to the clashing later on, my pitch is stronger than yours. What's your thoughts on that, Pablo, with Miller's Grindstone?
I do think that while being good at pitch stack is often regarded like as the highest skill you can have in Flesh and Blood,
yeah,
I do think a lot of people give it an importance that it doesn't have. Like it is good to know how to pitch a stack. It is really important in certain decks. Like if you're playing Chain, if you're playing Kano, you need to know how to pitch a stack, of course.
Yeah.
But don't get too crazy about pitch stacking. It's the first thing I say to new players every time. Like just don't go crazy over the pitch stack strategy, and because it isn't nearly as important. Like just. You just need to have a general idea of what's left in your deck, what's left in his deck, the general order, but you don't have to know, he's going to draw a blue 5 strength attack and then he's going to... Because it takes up so much of your brain power that you will probably make a mistake just playing the game if you're trying to remember all those variables.
Yeah.
Like, there is people that are better at it, and I do think that's a skill that you can train. I won't say that if you want to improve at Flesh and Blood, you don't train it. I do think it's pretty important, but not as many people claim it to be.
Fair enough.
That being said, yeah, it will be good with Miller's Grindstone because you can target specific things in your opponent's deck.
Yeah.
Like if you know they are only one big defense reaction left, and you know that's in top of their deck. It's extremely good to attack them with this hammer, because you will get rid of it for sure. I do really, really like the design of this weapon because it is like not... You will often win the class, right? Your deck is built for it.
Yeah.
You will probably even get a reward for winning the class, but there's a huge risk. Like, failing the class is much, much more harsh than winning it, If you win it, you're removing one card of your opponent's deck. You will need to do that like 10 times, 8 times to actually deck out your opponent. And when you fail the first time, your weapon becomes an extremely bad weapon that they can block with just one card. So it's a really interesting design, and I do think it will be a sideboard piece, as Yorgos has mentioned, and I do think we can see some builds with 2 hammers.
Oh no, come on, man. Let's.
Like
Oh,
you can
this is Winter's Whale talk all over again.
you can fail one of the classes and lose one of your hammers and say, I don't want to talk with you, to play with you anymore.
Come
And
on!
then bring up your second hammer.
But why did no one do this with Winter's Whale?
Because we didn't have enough go again sources. But if we had, that would have been really broken, really broken.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So it's a complex weapon, isn't it? And it's definitely one, like you said, it's definitely one for the sideboard, ninjas, and even maybe assassins, just proactive heroes that you can just go, well, I ain't going to be racing you. But
it is really good because there's a lot of matchups where it's a one-hand weapon.
Yeah.
Usually when you're swinging your famous hammer for 4 Titan's Fist, your opponent will block with 1 card, take 1 damage, and move on.
Yeah.
But when you're doing that with this weapon, there's a lot of implications and just blocking with 1 card. So there are some matchups where your opponent will end up double blocking.
Yeah.
This weapon, and you won't even have the risk of losing the class. So it will be an extremely efficient weapon in some matchups.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, no. Even if he did get that -1, and I know, you do get the -1, and you just go, all right, just pitch 3, swing for 3. You're still kind of like, I don't. I'm still gonna give you a card because I can't just you can't let this thing do its job. Like even when it's like the and it's terrible rate. Don't get me wrong, it's terrible rate. But in the Guardian world, when you just go in near the end, we're getting down to our low deck levels, and even if you just got that -1 clash, you just go, well, I'm not losing a card. I'm going to swing this for 3, and in the end, you're just, give me a card, or I'm going to deal 3, and I will take a card potentially. Do you know what I mean? Like near the end, like you either block with a card, or we clash, and I just take a card anyway. Like even if it went to 2, God forbid it went for 2, it's still just like it becomes a very terrible assassin weapon. You're like, oh God, slowly but surely.
The thing is there that if you let's say you've built your deck with 51 cards that are attacks, and most Guardian attacks are 6 or more.
Mm-hmm.
If you do not swing the weapon at the beginning of the game and you have 1 gold, you can still use the Goldmighty ability, and I think it's pretty much guaranteed that if you pop a defense reaction, for instance, or the block card, and you pop the gold to put it on the bottom, there is no way you will have 2 cards back to back that are going to lose the class versus the deck you sideboarded in that hammer.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have the gold as insurance, I mean, it's pretty hard to miss after a point. I think it's pretty great in some matchups. It's going to be pretty great in some matchups.
That's a really good. That's what I really like about his design, because every Guardian that we have seen up this far is playing a lot of defense reactions. Sink below, fit for sins, unmovables. I don't know the specific Guardian card. Like you have all of these really efficient defense reactions, and all of the Guardian playstyle, it's based around being this slow, methodical deck, but on the defensive side. And it's really interesting that they are releasing a new hero that forces you to, on the deck building phase, to get rid of all of these cards. You don't want to get stuck with a lot of defense reactions of your deck, because you will fail your classes. This is giving us a much more proactive Guardian hero. Even if he seems like he's holding a shield in some matches, and it seems like he will still have some defensive tools. But it's nice seeing someone that won't play, the usual non-attacks and defense reactions that all Guardians have. Like, imagine not being, afraid of Tiara Sander for for once, you know,
Yeah.
in a Guardian deck. He will probably not run it.
Probably.
It's a card that loses classes, you know, even if it's an extremely good card. So I do think that the LSS did a great job of creating a hero that you have to build different. You know, it's like what they did with KO. Like,
Yes.
amazing. Like, you have just released a hero and his pool and his options to deck build are so much different than the other brutes. So I believe that Victor Goldman is borrowing the distances, you know, but it's something like that where you will use another part of the Guardian pool that we haven't seen so much. Like, I believe that all these defensive red cards that Guardian decks usually had will probably be high strength attacks on his build to win those classes, you know? So that's why I am a little bit afraid that all of the class cards are tied to a defensive playstyle. Like, we have seen some class cards that are blocks. If there are a lot of block cards that clash with your opponent, and I do think we need to see another one because there's a cycle of, you know, one token each.
Yeah.
But,
Like
but
vigor,
that's
might, and you know, and agility.
Yeah, Test of Agility is the only block card that has been revealed, and that's just a Warrior and Brute Test of Agility, which I imagine I'd be shocked if there wouldn't be, you know, Test of Might, for example. Something,
full
you know,
cycle.
yeah, it just goes, oh, if you win, you get a Might token, whatever.
So I do think that we know about those classes that are really defensive,
Yeah.
but you cannot put that many cards that don't actually have any strength on your deck. Like, it would be bad or it would be awkward that your cards that actually trigger a class also make you lose a class, you know? And that would probably be why he has that second line of text. You know, the cycling during a lost class. But it will be interesting nonetheless. I do think we will probably see some buffs or some attacks
Yeah,
that
but then,
also clash with your opponent.
but then you got cards like Boast that sort of just push that frame of
Ooh.
clashing is in the defense step more than it is in the attack step, because and I still and it's not really a controversial take, but I would not be shocked if his shield is his legendary equipment and his shield triggers clashes.
It will be really cool.
Yeah.
Oh, someone told me his shield when you block it will create a gold token, and I said no.
No.
no way,
No,
no way.
no way, no way.
Even.
No, it'll be something like I think it'll be probably be a bit broken if this does this, but it'll probably be something like you can block with this, and you may clash. If you fail the clash, the shield gets a minus, like it loses like a -1 token, because right near the start, James White did say there's like a line of text that is kind of like temper, but it isn't. And I think there's going to be a thing of where, like Miller's Grindstone, where you block with it to clash, and if the clash fails, then you'll lose that armor on it. If not, if you don't win that clash, then you don't lose the armor on it. So there's no, which is probably broken. I mean, I'm not
Probably broken.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's probably broken. I don't know.
It sounds extremely powerful.
Yeah, that does seem a bit cracked.
But yeah,
yeah,
I do expect, as you have said, Boast is a blue card that rewards you for it's a blue block that rewards you for blocking with other class cards. But it's another kind of awkward card, right?
yeah, because like
it is good if it lines up with a class card because it blocks for 5, right? Being a blue, that is really good. But it's another card that doesn't win classes, you know. So
yeah.
how many class block cards are you going to put in your deck, and then you're also going to play Boast? Oof. We haven't seen the whole deck, and maybe it will go that way, but it seems strange.
Any final thoughts, Yorgos, on as our conversation around the clash mechanic and the blocking cards and just the deck building side of things that we've been talking about?
Well, I think the biggest question mark I have for both of the new Guardians actually has to be: are they going to run Tunic or not? Are you going to run Tunic on Goldmane or not? That will be my biggest deck building question regarding how to build a Goldmane. One of the bigger, questions. How are you going to build a hero?
Yeah, that's true. And you've segued on lovely, and I'll start with you, Yorgos. Betsy skin in the game! Wow. What a hero. Something a little bit more, well, I don't know, it's pretty simple, really. Pretty simple. Whenever you attack, you control wages. You may pay 2. If you do, he gets +1 and overpower. Now, isn't this Guardian? Oh, Bravo. Well, and this is how Bravo now works, because I don't even say Bravo enough. You just say Guardian, and you just know it's Bravo, right? But isn't this is this just Bravo, right? With extra steps. Is it I'm gonna say it. Is this just a worse Bravo? What's your thoughts, Yorgos?
I thought you were going to say a better Bravo. And
Oh,
I was going to correct you by saying, but Bravo has Crippling Crush and Starstruck. Now I have nothing to back my argument.
yeah, no, it's that point, isn't it? Crippling Crush. If this hits, you lose 2 random cards. That's a negative effect on you. Betsy's specialization is if this hits, you wager, right? Oh, if you wager, you get, or bet big. That's it. When this attacks a hero, you may wager a gold, might, and vigor token with them. It's positive on hit effects that are like, yeah, but I don't care if you get that, right? Do you know what I mean? And then it's overpower. I don't know.
It should get to a point where the value. I mean, you always block a snatch. I mean, why do you block a snatch? Because it's a positive effect, but you still block a snatch because drawing a card is insane. I mean, we could get to a point where all this wager stuff are the value is so great that you are forced to block. Otherwise, they get these way above rate trades every single turn. I mean, it will really depend on what type of cards we're going to see. Regarding the hero ability, though, I think the best comparison is to Bravo, where in your Bravo sequencing, there are a lot of times where you activate Bravo because it's the most efficient thing sometimes, and the opponent just has a D-React in Arsenal or uses an equipment, and because the game ends before that's relevant, before it's relevant that they used an extra D-React or they used an equipment, your hero ability effectively did nothing this game. It's not exactly nothing, but if the game ends without them, ever needing to block, they blocked with equipment once and then the game is over. I mean, it didn't matter that you gave the attack dominate. It was just straight up damage because the effect was never through. That comparison to Betsy, I love the fact that she gets the +1 when she pays the 2 extra resources. At least you got 1 power when situation like this occur, where I have an extra card with Bravo. You're like, okay, I'm giving the card dominate. Okay, the dominate did nothing. It's fine. It will not be the same with Betsy because Betsy will just give +1. It will also give +1 in addition to any other effects it had in her turn. And I think that's a pretty interesting design that if you're playing on the edge with your resources every single turn and you block and you use Tunic and you do a 4/8 and you can still have an efficient deck. If you have the extra card, you also get +1 power and overpower. And I'm guessing all of her effects are going to be on hit rather than crashes and stuff. All of the wager are going to be on hit effects, if there is going to be any.
Pablo?
I really like what Yorgos said about Bravo here. It's a thing that you realize once you have played the hero for a bit. And that's the way that sometimes your hero ability is a negative for you. Like you're essentially each time that you're fighting off Bravo's ability and playing a high strength attack with a powerful crash, your opponent might have a D-React in his arsenal. And if he does, that makes, because usually using Bravo's ability is another whole card that you could have blocked with, for example, That usually means that you have lost 3 life that you could have blocked on your last turn. if he has like a red unmovable on his arsenal and he can stop, your dominated spinal crash. That's a really feel bad moment. So it's cool that they kind of addressed it on Betsy, but we also have to talk that overpower is much worse than dominate. Like if your opponent has any D-reacts at all or non-attack block 3 cards in their hand, it will be pretty easy to stop some attacks. So it's not as sure that she will hit your opponent as it was with Bravo. Even if he needed to do 4 damage.
That's true. The one thing though is that I know that the overpower is. I think that's the thing about the overpower, that they can weave that into more stuff than they can with dominate. So the fact that the two things that I've seen in this hero ability that I think pushes a little bit past Bravo in a way, like you guys has explained, sometimes the hero text is just whatever. But the fact that it's an attack,
Non-attack,
and
actually.
+1, and it's just like, okay, I could pay 2 for +1, which is quite good. It's like that's all right. I mean, I pitched to grasp. That's for +1 value of damage. I could pitch a card as well to get. I think pitching 2 to get +1 on equipment is something that you would just go, well, I've got this excess resource, so I'm just going to just do it and push over. And that push over for her is actually that break. It could quite well be the break point. When you're coming in with a Guardian attack, that's just like coming in for 9. But now it's 10. 10. And all it needs to do is touch you once. Ding! Like Oakenhold. And it's just like, right, I might not be inputting loads of negative effects on you, but what I've done is I created a Vigor token, which is pretty much a Seismic Surge for next turn, and I've got a Might token as well, which is now just +1 again. So I've just it actually the rate of that 1 damage just turns into a lot more, and it's also overpowered. So you might just throw loads of defense reactions at it, which is cool, but you just gave me quite a few bit of cards for this one card that's just touched you once, did minimal damage, but the next round of attacks that I'm going to have is actually just give me so much points of value later on. And I've started to sort of appreciate might, vigor, and agility so much more by just testing KO a lot, that every time I'm discarding a card and I'm getting that +1 might token, I'm not like, oh wow, this just feels great. This sort of this loop that I'm doing. But the only thing with Betsy is it's all down to the wager, right? And how many wagers can I pull off? Because eventually I think she's the first Guardian that will just run out of steam. Just go, I'm done. I can't. I haven't got the surest way possible to close it, because maybe a lot of my stuff hinges on the text of the card of wager too much than the other Guardian heroes, maybe. So I think she could be quite an aggressive one. That's my thoughts.
It's interesting because we haven't seen her weapon yet. And there's
what is it?
People...
Is it the log or the keg? Or is it the keg?
It's the log, but I have seen a lot of people saying that the log will be one-handed and the offhand will be the keg. And that would be awesome. That would be awesome.
That would be you can wager with the keg.
You can choke in the middle of the fight, That would be extremely cool. I really like the fact that, unlike Victor, she shares the wager mechanic with other heroes, at least with Olympia, So that means that at least there will be more generic cards that she could be using. And you have touched on a really important point about her ability, and that's the fact that you don't actually need to give the +1 and overpower to an attack action card. It could also be used on her weapon. And as some people have said, just with the buffs we have seen that wager there's a card that gives +3 to your next attack, and you wager a gold token. If you're playing that card and you're playing an Athos, you can then pitch 5 to swing an Athos for 10 dominate, to 10 overpower, and on hit create a gold token, and that is pretty good. That's a pretty good turn.
Yeah, that's and I think that's what I mean. Like, there's stuff in there that makes you just sort of go, okay, yeah, no, I can. It's the weapon. It's not just throwing attacks. It's not just decking out. It's actually just being able to sort of weave those wagers into the weapon, which is, I think, the subtle, big difference of what, giving your weapon an on-hit effectively by the buff, which is kind of crazy, really, because weapons with on-hits are usually really good.
Really good.
Yeah,
Really good.
they're usually really, really good. Hey, you could put Miller's Grindstone on this bad boy. I mean, you probably shouldn't, but
I really like her specialization as well.
Oh,
Talk about it.
Yeah,
I do think that her specialization is a really, really good card. Like
bet big. Or
you touched upon it, but I do think that it fits so well into her mechanic. And as you have said, you can play it with 2 cards and the 9 overpower and whichever, or you can play just with 1 card and Tunic or a Seismic Token or whatever. And it's a really good attack anyway. So I really like these Witcher attacks because they force interaction. This will probably get stopped every time you play it, but they are going to stop it.
It's overpower. Can they stop it?
Oh, but you can just hard cast it, with just 1 card and any discount.
Yeah.
And it can be useful to make your opponent stop their offensive, because they gain so much for stopping this attack. The wager mechanic is really, really interesting because it gives your opponent the choice. Do you want me to create these tokens, or do you want to potentially lose your turn, but you get these tokens instead?
Yeah.
How much value does your turn have?
Yeah.
You have to properly analyze these things, and that's one of the things that have made Guardian good in the past. And I hate to say it like this, but giving your opponent choices is usually a good thing. Most people shy away from it, but when you're playing Crippling Crash Undominated and you look at your opponent, you say, do you want to block with your 2-block hand of 5, or do you want to take 11 damage and lose your 2 random cards? Those kind of choices are a lot of people take the wrong decisions on those points, and it's really, really rewarding.
Yeah.
So I do like all of this mechanic.
Yeah. Anything, Yorgos?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with what Pablo said. I think wager is a really interesting mechanic in the competitive scene. I think we're going to see a lot of pauses when a wager card hits the table, a lot of pauses in the game, and suddenly the opponent start thinking, should I block? I mean, and that's going to create some really interesting scenarios.
Yeah, I think one of the most funnest games that we'll see, which is probably why I'm really excited to see when it comes to Liverpool Sealed, is Olympia versus Betsy, and they are both they really want to win their wagers, and even if they're blocking up, they're like, bro, I can make these wagers work in my favor even when I'm blocking up, and they're both just because they're both obviously the king and queen of the Colosseum at the deathmatch arena. So they're now, that's like the final fight, isn't it? Those two. Everyone else is just you're there, whatever. But these guys are betting hard that they're gonna win. So just seeing Big Bet show up and against Olympia, I'm just watching him just go, I'm gonna block all this up, yeah, and I've won the Might and Vigor token, which is perfect because that still works into my cost curve of here's my pump attack into my weapon, because these wagers worked well for me even if I had low card count, and that's coming back at you with a wager, and you're like, oh man, okay, yeah, we're both really trying to get these wins off, and I think that's probably the understatement that I think a lot of people are going to walk away with. The Betsy versus Olympia matchups is going to be just so much fun with wager. We'll end this with a typical as usual. And this is why you guys are known to my heart. Oldham, no, Bravo. Yeah, no, I know. Oldham's gone. Good riddance, in my opinion. Is Bravo going to get some serious love in this set? Like, is he going to come out of this stronger or kind of more of the same? I'll start with you, Yorgos.
Well, I think probably there will be some type of upgrade card in his kit. I mean, there are many slots that are, we have commons, we have some weak rares. I mean, there are many slots that Bravo could get some minor upsides. But I think just like in Bright Lights happened, where the OG Dust did not get many new tools. I mean, she got some new stuff, but not too many.
She got
The
Twin
main
Drive.
focus was
And that was
yeah,
really
in
good.
between there were some cards, obviously. There were some amazing cards, but I think they will try to keep it at minimum because I think Bravo already has the power level that they want, that LSS feels like the heroes should be. So I don't think they want to push him too much over.
Yeah. What do you think, Pablo?
The first thing is that I'm hard that you think Oldham was a bad thing to the game.
Well,
Oldham was not a bad thing. Oldham was the worst thing. The worst thing to the game. Like I played him a lot. I enjoy the Guardian class, but I remember when he first came out, and I thought, okay, this is a mistake.
Yeah.
And it ended up being a mistake. So I'm happy that that was probably my only first hero analysis that went right. You know?
Yeah.
I'm usually really bad at at predicting which hero will be good or bad. But I saw that many defensive recursion, that many defensive tools.
You mean Crown of Seeds?
No way. Yeah, Crown of Seeds plus his ability, and no way to actually win the game. And I was like, okay, I don't know if it will be right now or in the future, but this will probably be problematic, and it ended up being.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bravo is in a sweet power spot right now. He's good, but he's not dominating. And he's doing pretty okay and showing up a lot in tournaments. It's a pretty popular hero, so I don't think he will be getting much love from this set. The Guardian cards we have seen, apart from Betsy's and Victor cards, have been for this buff deck, this aura deck that uses buffs. And it also ties up with the Guardian cards we saw in Round the Table that have this tower mechanic. So it feels like they are pushing a different game plan instead of releasing cards that Bravo might be able to fit in his current deck. And it will be nice. As I have been saying, anything that tries to make Guardian more proactive is good, because you don't want decks to be mainly defensive in this game, I believe. Like, you do not want that it is their only option. Yeah. So it would be pretty cool if we get these auras and this support for the aura deck, and then we have like these towering attacks that were actually pretty good. The attacks from Round the Table are actually pretty good. Yeah, so I'm happy that they are taking that direction. I would also love to see some support for this chest piece that creates a seismic token each time you draw a card on one of your turns. I was sure that...
Hey, there you go. We got Victor, right?
Yeah, I was so sure that Victor would play into that, and it does up to a certain point. His own drawability doesn't count for the.
Yeah, Earthlord Bounty needs action cards.
For Earthlord Bounty, it doesn't count. The gold tokens do, I believe, though.
No. Earthlord Bounty needs action cards, I think.
Yeah. So you need cash in and stuff.
Yeah. So he does not play as well as I thought into it. He's like a different kind of hero. But I'm pretty interested. Yeah, I do think that Bravo already has like perfect equipment. Like, you cannot improve his equipment. I don't think he will get any upgrade on his weapon. His weapon is already okay. You could get some minor side grades like Miller's Grindstone into some matchups, Maybe I wouldn't be playing it probably, but
No,
maybe.
yeah, well, yeah. It's if you don't want to run Titans first and you want to just, it could be that sweet spot of you going up against a ninja. I don't know. No, you got to be proactive. I don't know. I'm not a Guardian pro, but
So, seeing that the Guardian cards are distributed among wager cards, clash cards, and auras, I don't think he will be getting much from this set.
he could get his twin drive, bro. He could get he could get his twin drive.
He will get his Starstruck,
Yeah.
He had a peak in power in a set where he didn't receive any other card. So, just one card can change a deck so much. Just look at, Tome of the Imperial Flame for Romai.
Yeah.
And how much it changed the deck.
Yeah, we know that. So you never know. He could get something.
He could get something big, but I will probably expect much more focus on other decks and the new heroes, because they don't play with the old pool as much as the other heroes from the set, actually. Like Kaio, Reiner, Kasai, and Olympia. They all play pretty good with the cards they already got. Maybe Olympia not that much, but
I don't know. You should check out Yorgos' stream. This dude is just pretty much just taking on the great battle axe, and it's like, oh, here we go.
giving no hits to that weapon is illegal.
Yeah.
It's rough. It's rough. Anyway, well, unless there's anything else really to add more to it, I think again you'll be seeing next week there'll be some more spoilers and it'll just put a lot more context on this, and let's see if we are right in terms of the victor of Goldmane getting some proactive clash cards, or is he going to be more clash defensive type? I don't know how that'll feel when you're having when you're saying, oh, it would be good to have more proactive Guardians. I'm like, no, I don't know, bro. Victor just seems like a guy that's just going to be blocking so much. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we are right going forward. But we'll wrap it up from here. Anything you want to sign off, Pablo?
I just want to give a huge shout out to LSS for doing another great job. Like, I believe they have been hitting it out of the park with the design of the new cards. I believe we could use a slightly more powerful set this time. Like these last sets haven't been as impactful as I have wanted. So let's hope this one has a little more impact on the competitive scene. Especially on the classic constructed side of things. But yeah, and a huge shout out to my team and to you, Hamish, for having me here another time. It's always a pleasure being here with you and with Yorgos.
I appreciate it. Yorgos, anything sign off on?
Yeah, I also want to shout out the dudes in Fab Chaos, and I'm super excited to try the new Deathmatch Arena format in Armories. I'm super excited for that. I mean, I'm really looking forward to try that out.
Yeah, no, it looks really good. It's pretty much, if you haven't heard it, it's a UPF sort of. You buy a box of heavy hitters, you grab your friends, and you round about 8. But UPF is kind of whatever. You can have 6 anyway, and then you have 2 deathmatch arenas of UPF. And I don't know if it works in draft or if you're drafting a UPF deck. I don't know. I think you just draft out your deck. You get 2 UPF decks where it's all 4v4, and the winners of each one then fight each other to see who is the champion of the deathmatch arena for one box. Really cool concept. I love it. It was a lot more. It feels a lot more like a board game than it did with the Bright Lights Crack Shuffle play. Although that was also a very cool concept. So I like it that they're actually throwing out some like in-box gameplay you can just do from just. You can have fun opening your cards rather than just open the cards. You can actually play a game with your friends while seeing if you pulled the Fabled. But yeah, links below for the Sunflower Samurais and Fab Chaos below. Thank you so much, guys, for taking part and chatting about Guardian. And I'll see you guys on the next video.